Cd3 Life Coaching with Kalimabanco. The Sacred Council, 3 out of 32. The guiding force of Kalimabanco. Kalimabanco, the guiding force of the power of the mind. Know the tricks of the mind. I am Kalimabanco, governor of Crystalia, and also called the source of distraction. I am in charge of the creation, which you perceive through a device called the mind. In order for you as souls, crystal children of light, to experience Crystalia, the creation, you needed a body and a communication device in order to operate in these lower conscious worlds. The creation has been called the mortal world, the dream world, illusion, or Maya, a world or state of consciousness that is impermanent and imperfect. The creation is definitely different than the ocean of love, your original home, which is perfect and everlasting, just as you are, as souls, also everlasting. You are here on an adventure to experience the imperfect and the impermanent. Quote, only that one infinite power, who pervades the inner heart of all beings, is conscious. But in the company of Maya, it has become unconscious. It has lost its pure form. Ravidas. End of quote. To help you understand a little more what the mind is, compare it with a computer. The original mind is called the universal mind and is like a hard drive of this computer. It holds the information about the creation and how to live in harmony with it. These programs inside this mind computer are beautiful and practical, although they are from the mortal world, created in opposites, constantly changing and bound to time. Walking around in your body, your sense organs are the keyboard of this computer through which you are in contact with the outside world. Your intended adventure was for you as a soul to come and experience the creation, but instead of just experiencing the things of the mortal world, you started to take it all for real. You started to identify with the mind, the programs, your body, and the outside world. Your sense organs took over the driver's seat instead of your soul, and you lost your direct contact with Kandu the Creator. You fell into a trap created by yourself, and instead of experiencing spontaneously things, you wanted certain experiences again and again, and others you thought you could keep out. You forgot that all in creation, including the mind, is a creation of opposites, bound to time and constantly changing. Quote, wandering between the senses, whichever one the mind follows, it carries off the mind's discriminative faculty as a gale drives on a boat upon the water. Bhagavad Gita. End of quote. Within this computer, you started to create and condition your personal hard drive, driven by your sense organs. Not knowing what happened, who you really are, where you came from, and what you were coming to do in creation, you felt lost and lonely. Looking for security in a world which is impermanent, and not wanting to feel this loneliness, you just keep yourself busy with self-created reality programs. Quote, the constant feeling of loneliness and missing something is in reality the hidden and quenched thirst and craving of the soul for its Lord. It will always persist as long as the soul does not return to its ancient, original home and meet its Lord. Only then will it get true contentment and eternal peace. This feeling has been purposely put in the heart of man. Azur Maharaj Charan Singh Ji. End of quote. The original plan of the mind assisting you has now become the source of distraction. The life you have and everything happening in it is your dream world. You have created these programs and realities by yourself, and you keep on creating new ones. You are now even thinking that you are humans, living in and being of the world. Quote, begin to see yourself as a soul with a body, rather than a body with a soul. Wayne Dyer. End of quote. There are so many programs created after each other, programs on top of each other and mixed programs between all the information and realities. It is like a labyrinth, an endless web, a net, and it is very hard to see what triggers what and why, and what is what. You might have to make a deep study on the mind in order to see how deep the rabbit hole goes in which you have lost yourself. You may have to study from all the other council members who are part of your mind and within your mind. They are your team to find out more about yourself and how to possibly do things differently. They may assist you to get a clear picture and possibly able to free yourself from the realities within your mind. Quote, you stay in Wonderland and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Morpheus to Neo in the Matrix. End of quote. Based now on your own recorded conditionings, the mind just reacts like a robot. Everything you think, say and do takes place within a very limited reality, not a universal and not a spiritual reality. And realize that even the choices you make are just coming forth from all your conditionings. Are you really free? You are bound to conditioned actions, reactions, thoughts, wishes, feelings, tastes, smells, and many others. Within the mind, you created so many programs that are communicating with each other, and this hard drive has gotten a mind of its own, so to speak. And this is your ego. Quote, none is free of the grip of the mind. Morality, knowledge, duty, virtue, all bend before the ego. Merriam-Webster Caravella. I am called the one with the many faces, but this is your reflection in the outside world, being the endless characters of your own mind. On the stage of the theater of life, you have created not just one you, but you play many characters, all having different faces. Having lost your identification with your soul and Kandu, you now identify with these characters, mostly doing what they want, and you having to deal with the consequences. All characters are within you, and there is no delete button, and they need a director, which is the higher you within you. They all need to be accepted for what they are and guided by you. This is your task. Be aware that there are as well many characters that can assist you in your life. Call it your first or basic set of characters, representing the guiding force of Kandu, universe and nature. They are your sacred counsel, always eager to assist you in your adventure. But keep in mind, however, that all these guiding characters, including myself, are part of the creation, created in opposites, except for Kandu, and those who have merged in him, representing him. Quote, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Lao Tzu. End of quote. From my point of view, you have created a world that you are not really happy in. You do not use the programs existing in a dormant form in the universal mind anymore. Programs that could assist you to live in harmony in creation while visiting it. Plus, you do not tap into your spiritual inheritance. You lost contact with your soul and Kandu, and you keep on distracting yourself with the things that you believe that will bring you peace and happiness. Quote, "The transitory nature of the worldly objects, no matter how dear and near, gives it no lasting peace." Maharaj Sawan Singh Ji. End of quote. You have called me the devil, Kal and Satan, but who are the ones doing harm to themselves other than the world? It is you who plays dangerous games, with being busy with all these programs and the programming of the endless characters. I am very often ashamed of what you are capable of doing in terms of perversion and destruction. You even justify the things you do. No, not me, but you have created the world you live in. You worship the mind, and in a sense you worship me because I am the governor of it all. And as long as you worship me instead of Kandu, you are under a self-created spell, keeping yourself away from the truth. Quote, "If it is Kal's responsibility to keep us trapped in the realms of suffering, it is equally the responsibility of each human being to take the future of his or her soul in hand." Hector Esponda Dubin. End of quote. The mind can be trained in a very high degree of skill in any activity, but as long as you direct its energy out and into the world and not to Kandu, you are not the master of it. You remain just a slave, busy inside the labyrinth of your own mind. You are inside this labyrinth called the dream world, Maya or illusion. This is now the reality you are living in. But you prefer to live in a prison, which you like to dress up for your own comfort. Try to fight the mind and see that you cannot even overcome a simple taste addiction. You need a master or teacher who has overcome the mind, who has become one with Kandu, and who can guide you back to him. Quote, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." Matthew 7:7-8. End of quote. Kandu is waiting for the souls that want to find him. When you feel inclined to find out what the intended adventure is, who you really are, where you originally come from, Kandu will send you a guide. He will reveal the details of the mind and show you how to work with it in a proper way. When this moment comes in your life, the distractions of the mind will become lesser and lesser, for you will experience something far better than anything you can find in the shopping center of your mind. Quote, "The true spiritual masters say that the only pleasure that will satisfy the mind eternally is the taste of the holy name of God." Miriam Boxer Caravella. End of quote. Getting what you want. Realize that everything you want is being taken notice of, and realize that most things you ask for are related to your life in the world. When you believe that God is all-knowing, why do you ask for things, and especially worldly things? It is me, Kalimabanco, the owner of the mind, that will provide you the toys and the path to them. Some of your wants stay just thoughts, and they just stay spinning around in the back of your head. Some you take further in the process and realize that all desires go through this process by verbalizing them. Then you have to give you express thoughts direction, followed by action or an action plan. Your idea will never become exactly as you wish for. You cannot cover it all in details, and once your dream is fulfilled, you unfortunately cannot hold on to it. for all things in creation are part of a recycling system. In this process, which is, by the way, only possible through the 7 keepers of matters, many desires stay laying in one of the stages of manifesting your thoughts. In addition, you will have to deal with the duality of the desire, for everything in creation has 2 sides. You will have to deal with the factor time, change, and many more. All of these facts are represented by other members of the Sacred Council, together representing the elements of creation and universal and nature's laws. Let me give you a simple example. You get into your head you want to build a house. You verbalize or write it down or draw it. You give it the direction on where you want this house standing. Then you have to do all the work to get it going, and hopefully you are flexible enough for it will never be exactly as you had it in mind. And at the end, there is nothing you can hold on to forever. Just think about anything you want or wanted. It all needs to go through this process. At the end, you really want to ask yourself, because every manifestation goes together with obligations and still part of the world created in duality, if you really want and need these things, which are binding you to and attaching you to the creation. Quote, "In this world, there are only 2 tragedies. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it." Oscar Wilde. In my opinion, you are still in bondage, like in a prison house, and you're only trying to dress up the prison and getting some comfort inside. Why not being busy with something that lasts forever? Quote, "It is only by forgetting yourself that you draw nearer to God." Henry David Thoreau. End of quote. Maybe you want to use my steps to get yourself out of this prison. The memory of Kandu is within you. Think about it. Make it your objective, wanting to go back to him. Verbalize it to yourself or write it down. Give it directions by following your master and teacher and his teachings. Do everything you can to stay on track. Follow the instructions and meditate, but do not look for results. Be flexible. Let him mold you, and eventually you will manifest your desire. Quote, "The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance. The wise grows it under his feet." James Oppenheim. And never forget that I am not the one who keeps you away from Kandu. It is you, your own ego identification, association and attachment game. Never forget that I am not the one who punishes you, nor Kandu, but it's you yourself. Never forget that I am just offering toys. You play with them and start getting attached to them. You create your own pain in your adventure in creation, and you create the pain of being separated from Kandu. Quote, "Look and you will find it. What is unsought will go undetected." Sophocles. End of quote. Why do I tell you these things? There are no secrets, but only few use them. Most of you rather stay in my realm, the realm of suffering and illusion, the world of body, mind and matter. Kalimabanco. Knowing me and knowing what to do with me. Let's see how you unnecessarily struggle with my force in various aspects of your life, how you could change your perspective and even make some practical changes. There are endless words that can be connected to any subject, and each subject can have many books because each subject can be approached from various perspectives and angles. Most important is not to forget that all that is said or written is merely an opinion, a truth, and not the truth. Because the spoken and written word is part of the creative world, created in opposites, constantly changing and bound to time. All is based on descriptions and concepts, and none of them are complete. There is always more about any subject than we can comprehend. Regarding me and the Sacred Council members, talking about any subject, know that this understanding applies to all that information as well. The information is from their particular point of view and brought to you through the world of visionary and mystical fiction. Hopefully, it contributes to your life and assists you to experience life in a more conscious, mystical, and magical way. By hearing or reading this information, you will come to the conclusion that you know this already, and you do, because this is part of your universal and spiritual inheritance. And often, we just need one word or a sentence that inspires and motivates us to do things differently, or to think about a certain subject from a different perspective. Dealing with your real self, the soul. In regards to spiritual living, know that it is the mind you are up against, and it will keep you distracted and away from spirituality with all its might, because it is one of its major duties. Your sense organs are the agent of the mind. Inside the mind, in which you can find anything regarding the creation, you will not find spirituality, because this is from beyond the mind. It is from above the mind, before it was created. There is, however, a lot written and said about spirituality, which you can find inside the mind, but these are just indications that spirituality exists. But you must make it into a reality. Most important is that you can use the mind through spiritual practice to get rid of itself and to go beyond. The mind is a useful servant when directed by your soul under the guidance of a teacher and master who has accomplished this by following the instructions of his master. But the mind directed by your sense organs and negative passions is capable of the most destructive things. You have to be very careful with your thoughts and words, and for what you ask for, because when these requests have to do with worldly things and situations, they will be given by the mind, either instantly or at a later point in time. Quote, "Mind is the deadliest of foes, but the most useful of servants. When it turns wild and gets out of control, it heeds for certain destruction. When properly awakened and controlled, there is no limit to what the mind can do." Huzur Marwach Charan Singh Ji. End of quote. As long as you do not accept your life and are not content, you will be asking for things, but all of them have no lasting effect. The best wish is to have no wish anymore, and for that you have to go beyond the realm of mind and matter, a space or consciousness where you have already everything and where everything is forever. Dealing with your mind. In regards to managing and dealing with your mind, know that the mind was originally designed to let you as a soul operate practically in the material world. It was designed to make things easy for you, but just as you buy a computer to make your life easier, you have lost the original idea and are now slaves of the computer. Do not trust the mind until you have gone above and beyond its mortal realm. Realize the mind can justify anything, even killing. You have to stay in a state of being alert and awake, and when you slip out of that state of consciousness, you are instantly scattered in the world of mind and matter. By following the dictates of your mind, run by the sense organs and falling down in the negative passions, you become the mind itself, which is called the ego. You often speak about the devil, Satan, and the negative power, but forget that it is you yourself in the hands of a corrupted and confused mind, directed by your sense organs. The mind offers you every thought and think possible, because in the hard drive all is stored, but it is you who plays with these programs with the wrong intention. When there really would be a devil, Satan, or negative power, it would not be able to bear the pain you cause to yourself, others, and the world. As long as you are in the hands of the mind, history will repeat itself, and there is nothing really to be proud of. The only escape is to learn to control it and to go beyond it, and for that you need a master teacher and all your effort. Quote, "Soul is powerless in the clutches of the mind, and mind is helpless before the senses." Maharaj Sawan Singh Ji, end of quote. It is a very sharp razor edge dealing with the mind, and not easy to stay awake and aware, concentrated and focused. And when you realize this, do not make it worse by overeating, taking alcohol and drugs, for it makes it all even more clouded and difficult. Dealing with your body. In regards to dealing with your physical body, know that you get trapped in it like you're getting trapped in a jail, a pyramid or labyrinth. Your physical body consists out of 5 material substances: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and has 7 major centers. Earth or root center with its major foundation of manifestation and elimination. Water or creative center with its major function of procreation. Fire or belly center with its major function of digestion. Air or heart center with its major function of circulation and respiration. And ether has 3 centers: the throat center with its major function of verbal communication, the forehead center with its major function of non-audible communication, and the crown center with its major function of higher communication. Each of these 7 centers being a maze of cords that are connected to everything else inside and outside your body, offering you endless practical assistance, but they are also all your distractions, holding you not only back from a great and healthy adventure in the world, but as well holding you back from discovering who you really are and where you came from. So your body is the vehicle to let you venture the creation and the vehicle to return to the source, but at the same time it is the vehicle with which and in which you can get lost. It is the same with every gift you receive, and up to you, what are you going to do with it? Quote, "Everything is a loan given against the pledge, and the net is cast over all living, so that none may forfeit paying by escaping. The shop is open, the shopkeeper extends credits, the ledger is spread out, and the hand makes entries. Whoever wishes to borrow may come and borrow, but the collectors make their rounds daily, and exact payment, whether or not one is aware of it. They go by an unfailing record, and the judgment is a judgment of truth. Ethics of the Fathers." End of quote. Dealing with communication. In regards to communication, stay aware that everything you say is merely an opinion. Know that as long as your mind is driven by the sense organs and passions, that the mind has you fully in its grip. The mind can let you believe anything and realize that you can overpower and manipulate others with words and through the way you use them. Quote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Marcus Aurelius. End of quote. Dealing with food. In regards to dealing with nutrition, know that the mind is a very powerful entity that can assist you in simple ways of optimum nourishment when it is under the direction of the soul. But it is well designed to keep you away from thinking about your real self, your soul, and the Creator. The mind lets you believe that you can eat whatever you want and lets you even forget about any consequences. It will come up with any excuse and goes that far so you can use food for a reward and compensation system. That you should listen to your cravings and that some bad food cannot be that bad for the body, and having the excuse, everybody is doing it. The mind will go that far that you think that life is not worth it when you cannot have your foods and drinks you are used to. It keeps you ignorant and keeps you enslaved. Quote, "The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it." Henry David Thoreau. End of quote. Inside this mind, you can still find a harmonious way of nourishing the body, but because the sense organs have taken the driver's seat, this information is not accessible, and you suffer the consequences. Everything regarding your nourishment is now conditioned and programmed, and everything inside the mind is now executed based on these conditionings. You think that you have control over your body vehicle and its needs, but the mind driven by the sense organs has you completely in control. Just try to get rid of one food or drink craving, and you know who is in control. And when you are able to overcome one craving, it will be replaced with another one. Dealing with staying fit. In regards to fitness, know that there are endless ways to keep your body fit and vital, but also know that you easily can fall lost in all kinds of realities and losing the objective of why you have to keep this physical body fit and vital. The mind has always a hidden agenda with selfish reasons and with many expectations, and it is not easy to be mindful of these tricks. You have created a self-identification with the mind and the physical body, but both are mortal and both belong to the world of mind and matter. Quote, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Exodus 23. End of quote. Your mind will come up with many reasons why not and why to exercise, but all of them will be short-lived, with the exception that you stay fit out of obligation to your soul and the Creator. Dealing with your life partner. In regards to your relationship, know that it is already difficult to deal with your own mind, directed by your own sense organs, and all the endless desires. And in a relationship, you have to deal with the mind of your partner. You have to accept you for what you are and minding your own business and accepting your partner and giving each other space. And at the same time, you have to have an open mind. Use the mind for practical things which you can do together, but be very careful to use the mind for other things, because the mind which stands between you and the soul will stand also in between the both of you as well. Quote, "Marriage is not a simple love affair. It is an ordeal, and the ordeal is the sacrifice of ego to a relationship in which two have become one." Joseph Campbell. End of quote. Dealing with your children. In regards to parenting, there is not one way of raising children, but you can do it with as much awareness as possible. Quote, "Before I got married, I had 6 theories about raising children. Now, I have 6 children and no theories." John Wilmot. End of quote. This awareness is about realizing who you really are, how this world functions, and knowing as much as possible about the mind and sharing it with the children in a language and visualization they possibly can relate to. Your real you, even as parents, is not a constant realization, because you forget that you are souls, eternal spirits, because the mind ruled by the sense organs have taken that place. The mind is to assist in practical matters, being your practical skills, but when the mind is not operated by the soul but the sense organs and desires, it will cause tremendous trouble, because its task is to keep you busy in the creation, trying to find happiness, which only can be found when you are united again with Kandu, the Creator. Quote, life is so constructed that the event does not, cannot, will not match the expectation. Charlotte Bronte. End of quote. By letting the mind do what it pleases, you have become the mind, and it will keep you busy 24 hours a day, and trying to find peace and happiness, which is not possible in the world. This is part of the journey to find this out and to start looking for the real you and its real home. Different from the world, you came as souls. You are now in a world created with opposites, constantly changing and bound to time. Every action will have a reaction and chain reaction. And you basically pay for every action, from thinking to saying to doing, and attaching you to the things of the world, and thus keeping you in bondage. You have become the endless characters inside the movie of your own mind created by yourself. You have to explain that life in creation was meant to be an adventure of experiencing endless things, but in which you are now desiring the same experiences or trying to keep others out. Make children aware of all possible facts in a way they can understand, and tell them that you are learning more and more yourself and are on the path to mastering your own mind. Quote, all knowledge that the world has received comes from the mind. The infinite library of the universe is in your own mind. Swami Vivekananda. End of quote. Visualize the mind as an endless shopping center and know that you have to pay a price for shopping in it. And even without wanting anything in it, you are losing your time in it. Your children have to have their own experience in this world of mind and matter. But the more you know, the better you can assist them. Ignorance is not a bliss, but a big price you have to pay. Quote, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. Confucius. End of quote. Dealing with preserving the planet. In regards to taking care of the planet Earth, realize that the mind under the dictates of the sense organs acts like an unconscious visitor who just takes and takes. You justify everything, and now you find yourself on a planet which is on the brim of total destruction. You blame others, but you as an individual keep on depleting the Earth's resources in endless ways by being part of the consumer society. Quote, the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Albert Einstein. End of quote. Dealing with the teenage years. In regards to the teenage years, know that these years are the years in which you slowly break away from your parents. You can make this practical by studying, so later you can get a job and make your own money. You do not need to rebel and prove that things can be done differently, or that you are differently. Wait, have patience, respect where you are, and do things differently when you have your own place. There is no need to play mind games with your parents and vice versa. Parents, because they themselves have been teenagers, should have a clearer overview on this period in life, and understand that children seek their own unique self. Stay practical and avoid getting emotional. Quote, "The secret of living in peace with all people lays in the heart of understanding each one by its own individuality." Friedrich Ludwig Jahn. End of quote. Dealing with getting older. In regards to dealing with getting older, do different activities in order not to abuse the body, and realize that although death can come any minute, it becomes a definite reality when getting older. You can make practical arrangements in regards to your wishes, what should be done when your body dies. You can organize papers that are useful for your family members. Have you prepared yourself for the journey? You can also ignore the fact that you have to lay off your body and use the mind to distract yourself with the endless mortal pleasures of the world, but they will bring you little. Quote, "For death begins with life's first breath, and life begins at touch of death." John Oxenham. End of quote. Dealing with stress. In regards to dealing with stress, realize that by keeping things simple and practical, you avoid a lot of stress in your life. But when you let the mind do whatever it desires, you will get stressed out. The mind can just come up with any desire, and you getting completely stressed out by going with it. Yes, you can stress yourself out within your own mind. You want too much, and you want things right now. Just think about the stress that causes. Quote, "Desires are the cause of suffering, and he alone is poor who has unfulfilled desires. He who is free from desire is the richest." Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. Dealing with weight. In regards to dealing with weight, know that taking care of being overweight is a straightforward and practical path. And do it for the right reasons of recreating a vital body. Watch out for the endless instant result promises, because there are too many of them. And do not let your mind and emotions run the show, for you will not get too far. You want to have a new or different you? The way to accomplish this is by doing things differently than what you did before, and do this in all aspects of your life. Quote, "You can never plan the future by the past." Edmund Burke. End of quote. Dealing with disease. In regards to dealing with disease, know that the biggest disease is the mind itself when ruled by the sense organs and not by the soul and its creator. The mind under the rule of your weaknesses, the sense organs, keeps you shopping within itself for the things of the world. You pay for this by living in separation from your real self, the soul, and your creator, but you pay even more through sickness and disease, which is the result of you shopping for the negative and unhealthy things. Quote, "Every human being is the author of his own health or disease." Buddha. End of quote. To be less confronted with signs, symptoms, and disease, start shopping for more positive and healthy things. In order to deal better when you are confronted with disease, accept the fact that you created it. In order to deal better with those confrontations, and do not blame it on somebody or something. The condition, signs, symptoms, and disease of the physical body is the expression of all the things you do incorrectly, external and inside your mind. The body never lies, but the mind cannot be trusted until it is managed by the soul. To get rid of the mind, which is a disease for the soul, so to speak, you must master the mind, and for that you will need a master who has done this and who can give you the proper instructions. Dealing with emotions. In regards to dealing with emotions, take a practical approach in regards to emotions. They are just experiences, but when you further connect them to places, faces, and events, you have fallen for the mind. The mind is capable of creating an internet and you sitting right in its own web. Quote, sometimes the mind will deceive you as a friend. Sometimes it will threaten as an enemy. Sometimes it will entangle you in disease. In various ways will it spread its net. Swami Shiv Dayal Singh. End of quote. Every thought and image you can come up with is inside the shopping center of your mind, and emotions are just one chain of shops in which you can connect to. Be careful for all this shopping, for it will not bring you any inner peace and contentment, but binds you to the world. Dealing with business. In regards to dealing with your professional life, know that making money for your livelihood is just having a job. But the mind will tell you that what job you deserve. It will make you want to stand out and driving you to have more money. And even more and at the cost of your health and family. The mind under the management of your sense organs and negative passions will let you do incorrect things and even let you justify them. Be mindful of your mind. Quote, the ways of trade are grown selfish to the borders of theft, and supple to the borders of fraud. Everybody partakes, everybody confesses, yet none feels himself accountable. That is the vice, that no one feels himself called to act for man, but only as a fraction of man. Ralph Waldo Emerson. End of quote. Dealing with destructive habits. In regards to dealing with destructive habits and addictions, know that the mind can be a useful servant, but when out of control, very destructive and not serving you at all. You get involved in destructive habits and addictions, blaming it all to the world, situation, and others, but forgetting who has the weak mind. You let your sense organs and negative passions rule your life. It is already hard enough to keep the mind under control without destructive habits and addictions. Start doing something differently and get a grip on your mind. Quote, the keenest sorrow is to recognize ourselves as the sole cause of all our adversities. Sophocles. End of quote. Dealing with studying. In regards to studying, stay aware that it is for the sake of experiencing or supporting your own livelihood and not to entertain your ego. Realize that in essence all of knowledge is already within you because all information is right within your own mind. Schools, programs, and teachers are just assisting you to draw it out from within you. The mind provides you with endless study subjects, but at the same time know that your mind under the dictates of your sense organs will distract you with endless other thoughts. Don't forget to study your mind itself, how it functions, and how it can be a greater servant, but also your worst nightmare. Quote, all knowledge that the world has received comes from the mind, the infinite library of the universe. It is in your own mind. Swami Vivekananda. End of quote. Dealing with friendships. In regards to friendships, know that the mind can be a useful friend, through which you can learn basic skills in order to function in the physical world. The mind will also be useful under the guidance of a true master, as particular components are used to subdue the mind. The mind under the dictates of your sense organs is no friend, but your worst enemy, for it will even justify killing, and keeping you away from your real friends, your soul, your master, and the Creator. In regards to your physical friends, know that all of them have the same dilemma, being a slave of the mind under the dictates of the sense organs. Be mindful of this fact. Quote, "Man's natures are alike. It is their habits that separate them." Confucius. End of quote. The summary of Kalimabanco. Kalimabanco, the guiding force of the mind. Living in the mortal world, your soul took on a body to move around with and a communication device containing all realities within creation, called the mind. You lost your direct contact with Kandu, your creator, and felt for the endless realities and distractions within the mind, now ruled by your sense organs. I am Kalimabanco, the governor of mind and matter, and the keeper of all realities within your mind. What you do with all these realities is your sole responsibility. You can do great things with them, but on the other hand, it scares me to see what damage you do to yourself, others, and the world. Why call me Satan or the devil? Study the mind, its purpose, how it functions and operates, enabling you to stay clear of its many tricks and distractions. Summary. The mind is a communication device for your soul, and the body the vehicle to explore creation. The mind can only function because it gets its energy from the life force. The mind is the hard drive of all information regarding creation. The mind offers all things possible, but it is up to you for what you shop and what you're going to do with it. Everything you think, say, and do is recorded within the mind, influencing your experience. The mind is very useful for practical things, but when you start playing with its endless programs and realities, you will get lost within your own mind. The mind driven by the sense organs and negative passions is a danger to all. The duty of the mind is to keep you busy with the things in creation. The mind is a 24-hour shopping center in which you shop day and night. Within the shopping center, you pay a price for everything you connect with. Stay more aware of the activity of your mind. Listen to what you think. Become the director and manager of the mind, and do not let your mind driven by the sense organs run your life. Observe and study your mind more in order to understand how it can trap and trick you, but also how it possibly could help you. In order to stay aware of the mind, prepare yourself for the day of how you are going to approach life, others, and situations. And at the end of the day, write down your changes, how you handled things differently by having read the information about Kalimabanco. Affirmation. I realize that there is nothing real to anything of this world. A world right within my own mind, in which I can find any reality possible, the past, the moment, and the future, constantly changing, created with opposites and bound to time, and for that reason, an illusion. Petrus.